People of color more exposed to heat islands, study finds. By Drew Cosley.
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black.
This article is on the website physics.org, May 25th this year. People of color, peace, what it do? People of color more exposed to heat islands, study finds. Now, we know people of color encompasses everybody other than so-called white people. So, let's read on. And they got a Mexican brother on the cover. So, shout out to you, my good peoples. Now, in nearly every major city in the U.S., people of color are exposed to more extreme urban heat than white people, a new study finds. Now, first thing we need to understand, what are heat islands? That's the first thing I had to do. So you see, heat islands are urbanized areas that experience higher temperature than outlining areas. Excuse me, structures such as buildings, roads, and other infrastructure absorb and remit the sun's heat more than natural landscapes such as forests, and natural bodies. Urban areas where these structures are highly concentrated or greenier is are highly concentrated and greenier is limited becomes islands of higher temperatures relative to outlining areas. Now, okay, daytime temperatures in urban areas are about 1 to 7 Fahrenheit higher than temperatures in outlining areas, and nighttime temperatures are about 2 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit higher. Okay, so essentially what they're saying is you live in a more denser area, it's hotter, right? So that's what a heat island is, right? But this says people of color. So this article seemingly is suggesting that more people of color live in more um, high, highly densely populated areas. I think I said that right. So right, but we know that's not true because we all scattered. People live in the cities, people live in the countries, right? But this says people of color. So that means they had to have some kind of contrast, right? So let's read. We'll see what we're talking about. In nearly every major city, people of color are exposed to more extreme heat than white people, new study found. Using government temperature and census data, researchers examined the distribution of heat islands, parts of cities with higher average temperatures than surrounding areas. The study, published Tuesday in Nature's Communication, found that during the summer of 2017, in nearly all large urban areas, the average non-white person lived in a census tract with higher heat island intensity. Glenn Sheriff, a co-author of the study and environmental economic professor at Arizona State University, was surprised to find such pervasive disparities. It was seen in all but six of the country's 175 largest urban areas. Now we know these largest urban areas are all mixed up. Like we know that just living out here. Alright. I expected to see that people of color had a higher exposure to the heat island effect in maybe a majority of cities, Sheriff said. But what we found was that something like 97% of the cities had these disparities, right? The researchers use the heat island as a proxy for exposure to extreme heat. These places are usually landlocked, laden with concrete, with little to no grass, trees, or bushes. Because of this, they typically attract and retain more heat than surrounding areas. With the climate change warming the planet, heat islands have been increasingly scrutinized by environmental scientists over the last decade. I want you to think back to them old um, Bobby Hemmett and Dr. Phil Valentine lectures when they talked about how um, you control the weather. Bobby Hemmett talked about it more so. We're going to keep going. The physics behind the urban heat islands means that the strongest temperature increase occurs in central parts of urban areas, said Ken Kunkler, a senior scientist at the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, who was not involved in the study. Ken folk got that kicking it, got the shade already. Got that shit laid out. People living in or near heat islands can experience hotter days, less nighttime cooling, and higher air pollution than surrounding areas. These conditions can contribute to heat-related deaths, illnesses such as stroke, respiratory difficulties, cramps, exhaustion, according to the Environmental Protection Agency. In addition to finding these disparities, people of color and white, Sheriff and his colleagues also found the average person of color, I know Pete, hold on, they also found the average person of color is exposed to a higher heat island intensity than the average person living below poverty. Okay, this is the case even though only 10% of people of color live below the poverty line in 2017. Okay, the finding surprised Sheriff as an economicist. I think I said that right. He said he expected to find more affluent people of color would have less exposure to heat islands than people with low incomes. Okay, it suggests here it is, Pete. It suggests that there's some non-economic factor at play here. It's not purely property values or pricing poor people out color neighborhoods because the average person of color is not living in poverty. That factor is race, according to this person, an environmental health professor at the University of Maryland who was not a part of the research team. Not a part of the research team. He researched pollution for decades and had found similar racial inequities in air and pollution and water contamination. So, the whole point is heat islands come about because of the people living in a higher dense in a highly densely populated place because of lack of funds, right? Poverty and shit. You gotta live in a big building so you don't have as much grass in New York or what have you. But then it suggests here there's some non-economic factor at play because this fund sheriff also found the average person of color is exposed to a higher heat intensity than the average person living below poverty. So that means that it's not about the money. You see, because even black folks who's not living in them type of conditions still are experiencing these higher intensities. That's why they say there's some non-economic factor at play here. You see what I'm saying? The science is what Bobby Hemmett and what you know Dr. Phil Valentine and them was telling you about us versus them. Damn, I wasn't trying to go there with it, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, we not the same. Not us versus them on some white black shit. But just we not the same. We not the same. You know what I mean? Genetically, we not the same. We emit more energy. That's why we experience more heat islands. We give off more energy. See, they telling you what it is in here. Heat islands are overnight experience higher temperatures. The structures in the building absorb and remit the sun's heat more than natural landscapes. See, we absorb and emit the energy of the sun better than so-called white people. We know that for the fact that we don't get sunburned. You see what I'm saying? So it's just to show you the fundamental differences between some fundamental differences between us. Once again, I don't give a fuck about your black white shit. I don't care about going against people and all that other shit. My thing is we different. We gotta stop. Cause hold on. This book right here from Dr. Layla Africa. We not like them. We cannot act. We cannot, take their medicine and apply it to us. Anatomy, blacks and whites. Now this ain't me, and I know it's mirrored on my screen, but I'm 90% sure on the video it show right. Okay, this is the differences. This is according to Dr. Layla, the late great Dr. Layla Africa. Rest in power. Okay. All that. We just different. We just built different. So we got to apply different sciences to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So that's all the point was. Ain't nothing. Take what you want to do, what you want to with it. I just tell you what I know. I tell you the facts that I've learned them as I go. So take it easy. Peace.
Because I'm black and I'm black. Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all. And I'm black and you're black and I'm black, y'all. And I'm black, y'all. And I'm black, y'all. And I'm black and you're black and I'm black, y'all. And I'm blickety black, black, black.
Conversation, stop it.
I'm a Moor and got sense enough to know I'm a Moor. And ain't gonna never argue with you that I'm not a Moor. And wouldn't come in your house or come among you and say I'm a Moor if I didn't feel in my heart, in my mind, in my soul that I am.
If you don't understand that, get that together real quick.